Hello, my name is Lola, and I'm going to be reacting to Thor: Love and Thunder trailer breakdown, Easter eggs, and details you might have missed by new Rockstars. Let's see what Easter eggs and details we might have missed. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of the latest trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, which finally reveals the face of the villain, Gore the God Butcher, and flick me, he looks sick. It is time for a frame-by-frame breakdown of all the details you missed, and not just because this is the second Marvel trailer in 1 week to lead with ass, though we actually do have to go frame-by-frame through that ass shot because there are some interesting details there. Not the details you think, the details you think, but also more details than you think. Anyway, and our friends at Shortboxed are giving away the first appearance of Jane Foster as Thor, What If number 10 from 1978. Stick around to the end of this video to learn how to enter to win. Let's go.
Sick, yo. Alright.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no
That's an
ordinary
awesome
man.
name. He should just
He
go
was a
by
god.
that name from
Okay, we open with the same shot of Thor meditating beneath this wisdom tree that we saw in the last trailer, but a key difference, they've now added two figures hiking up to Thor from behind. It looks like a male and a female, perhaps Peter Quill, does look like Pratt's silhouette there, and then I would say either Nebula or Mantis, but this woman doesn't exactly match their silhouettes. So maybe
Gamora?
Valkyrie, maybe Jane, maybe Gamora. Will this movie finally reunite variant Gamora with the rest of the Guardians? We can actually see that same tree behind Korg as he's regaling the kids, maybe telling the kids, hey, don't bother Uncle Thor right now. He's getting some alone time. Now, this blue-skinned race is actually the same tribe that the Guardians fight alongside in the other shots. I'm thinking they're the Zatoan tribe of the planet Centauri 4, the same tribe as Yondu, which is why the Guardians feel such a kinship with this tribe, wanting to defend Yondu's home planet. So if this planet is Yondu's home world of Centauri 4, that would make these other planets and stars in the sky part of the Alpha Centauri system, Alpha Centauri being the largest sun in the sky. And it's interesting that we can see so many of the other planets in the horizon, because it could be how this movie visually conveys my theory that Centauri's neighboring planet of Centauri 6, referenced in Eternals as a past planet that the Eternals helped destroy to birth the Celestial, could get referenced in this movie. We might even see the ruins of that planet in the sky, and that could be the home world of Gore, the reason why he hates all gods now. We see Thor powering up Stormbreaker. We actually see him coming down on whoever these raiders are in the final shot of the trailer. Then Thor pops the collar of his leather vest on the Benatar while the other Guardians turn to look. It actually looks like he may have borrowed some of these clothes from Peter Quill. Like, this looks like it used to be Quill's red jacket, but now with the sleeves removed because, yeah, there's no way those tree trunks are gonna fit in the sleeves. Actually, the shirt he's wearing looks like an artistic display of the 9 realms spread out across Yggdrasil, which of course is the Asgardian world's tree. And this whole tank and jeans look looks a lot like Kurt Russell's look in Big Trouble in Little China. Kurt Russell, of course, playing Peter Quill's father of Ego. Moving on.
After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. He got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod.
Okay, some new shots of New Asgard and Tonsberg, Norway, and its state as a tourist attraction.
I love that
now.
he's pulling
in
the
addition to
Milano.
the cruise liners, one of them having the face of Volstagg, members of the Warriors 3 who died in Ragnarok. We can also see a golf course. Now, I'm not sure if these greens are on the same field where Hela broke Mjolnir and where Odin died. If so, it's kind of sad for tourism to carpet over that site. But actually, in the middle of that green is some figure that might be just a golfer with his caddy, or might be that pedestal that contains the broken shards of Mjolnir. Those shards unable to be lifted and moved, and maybe now that's Thor just sitting on it, thinking. Then Thor uses Stormbreaker to change into his Asgardian leathers, so if those were Peter Quill's clothes, I guess they're gone now. We can see Korg reining Thor's goats. Let's give this a shot. Tangri and Tanjost, I don't know, but they translate to teeth bearers / teeth snarler, and then teeth grinder. These goats are famously Thor's steeds from Norse mythology. But like in the shot of this from the first trailer, this one also is just framed in a weird way to make me think that there is a third character who has been digitally removed from the trailer footage. Now, I speculated it could be Beta Ray Bill, one of the versions of Thor in the comics. And he's gotta make it into the live action MCU at some point, so I'm praying that's the case. But behind them now in this shot, you can see more of those blue-skinned Centaurians, so this still would be that same planet. And if that wide shot was showing Gamora, she would be another surprise character that they might want to leave out of the trailer. Beta Ray Bill, Gamora, someone else, let me know who you think is actually here in the comments below. Then more shots of Thor's Mr. Incredible style workout routine, battle ropes with these chains and a giant skeleton. I'm still wondering if it could could be one of the past gods that Gore has captured and tortured. Thor, once again, wears the trucker hat that previously had Mightiest Avengers on it. And then now he's sharpied over it so that instead of Mightiest, it's Strongest. And then Avengers is now just Avenger. He crossed out the X because there's only one of them. Thor being the strongest Avenger, a recurring joke that's been in all these movies. Meanwhile, his whole look is modeled on Vincent D'Onofrio's character in Adventures of Babysitting, where that girl thought he was Thor. But another one of his fitness goals was to tow the entire Benatar. The fact that he's able to take any steps at all is pretty impressive. I feel like this session is going to end with Quill just flooring it and yanking Thor off planet so that they can suddenly hit the brakes, and then he like smacks up against the back window this time. All right, on to the next clip.
And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor.
Not anymore.
Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane?
That's a crazy helmet.
So Thor here is fighting off these dark monsters who are attacking the town of New Asgard. These may be the Black Berserkers, who are Gore's minions from the comics, whom he summons with his sword, really extensions of himself. Since All Black was a weapon of the symbiote deity of Null in the comics, the Black Berserkers are in a way kindred of the symbiotes, which yes, remain Sony properties, but Marvel doesn't have to explicitly go into the sword's symbiote backstory in this movie. It is nice to see all the other townspeople actively fighting off the Berserkers as well. It's not just the Asgard protectors of the Einherjar. Einherjar. I don't know. But yeah, we are seeing plainclothes civilians picking up pipes and stuff and beating them down. Now, Thor tries to summon Mjolnir, but it hovers inches from his fingers and Luke lightsabers from Kylo the Rey. Jane Foster is the mighty Thor from Jason Aaron's comic run, in which Jane uses Mjolnir to power up into Thor to escape her cancer treatments. This trailer may later hint at why Jane is carrying Mjolnir. I'll get to that in a bit. Right here, there is some odd editing going on, because in the reaction shot, Thor is suddenly now suited up in his brighter golden armor and his helmet, as opposed to his leather armor that he was wearing before. So really, we're seeing two moments stitched together, maybe one earlier in the battle, and then one at the end of the battle where the two finally step up to each other. To be honest, there is something goofy about the framing here. Like Thor, even under the mask, just looks plated into the shot, as if they may be masking something here. Like, I'm just gonna be surprised if this is exactly how it looks in the theatrical version of the movie. So why the armor upgrade? Why are all the characters wearing armor upgrades? I think it may be Jane as the mighty Thor wielding Mjolnir that causes all the Asgardians to suit up in this new badass look. Like Jane signals a new changing of the guard. Let's move on.
The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been?
Jealous.
3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
Ooh, okay, so Jane
Yeah,
is
seems
riding
like
a
he's been keeping
Pegasus,
track.
the same kind of steed Valkyrie rode in Endgame. She's riding into this weird chamber. See two shots of it here, but there's a wider shot later in the trailer that gives us a big shot of it. It's filled with these golden statues that should look familiar to you. These are all Marvel cosmic entities. The clearest one to the far right is the Living Tribunal. This guy keeps showing up. It's the three-headed Chief Justice of the multiverse. Its face is representing equity, necessity, and revenge. They just made a cameo in Multiverse of Madness, the first alternate dimension that America Chavez and Strange tumbled through, but in that case, all three faces were separated from each other, maybe a way of showing that we were on a different dimensional plane there. And of course, another one of the Living Tribunal statues showed up severed in the void in Loki. At the time, I speculated, could that have been a reality where the Living Tribunal was overthrown, maybe by someone like Gore the God Butcher? The fact that the Living Tribunal is showing up here is interesting, but he's not alone, because right behind the Living Tribunal is a vault statue that looks like the Watcher, Uatu, the character voiced by Jeffrey Wright. And what if the Watcher's being another cosmic entity that just oversees, observes the multiverse? It's not supposed to interfere. But then if you slide to the left, there is a hooded figure, a skull, presumably Lady Death, who in the comics, Thanos did all of his dirty stuff for. Then on the left in the far back, there is a bald feminine figure who looks a lot like Infinity, the sister to Eternity. And then between them, I think that might be Eon, aka He Who Waits, an offspring of Eternity who's associated with the concept of time. So what is this place? Well, Jane entered this through a glowing orange rift, suggesting that it's not accessible through any physical means. I'm wondering if this could be a shrine to the higher tier of cosmic beings above the god tier, perhaps an MCU version of those who sit above in shadow, the gods to the gods who oversee the Asgardians and lend Mjolnir its power. Perhaps it was these figures who selected Jane to wield Mjolnir. Because notice it is only here where she is channeling the lightning and the thunder to power the hammer. These overseers of the multiverse may have taken mercy on Jane Foster for her cancer and seen some cosmic imbalance with Mjolnir being destroyed, selecting Jane as the all-time keeper of Thor's heart as the rightful wielder for this particular battle. And I say this particular because I don't know if the plan is to ultimately have Jane Foster be the permanent Thor going forward. That wasn't the case ultimately in the Mighty Thor comic run. I think ultimately by the end of this movie, Mjolnir may be destroyed once more, and like Beta Ray Bill may be wielding Stormbreaker. Now another way to interpret this is you could connect it to the temple art of Morag back in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. That art depicted 4 figures: death, infinity, eternity, and entropy. Now we don't know if these 5 in this chamber are the only statues in this room. There could be more out of frame, but either way, I think we are looking at the reigning hierarchy of cosmic authorities in the MCU. You have humans on one tier, above them you have Asgardians. They report to Zeus. Zeus and his tier literally being larger gods, 10 feet tall, who reign over the pantheon of gods of Olympus, and then all of those gods report to this ultimate cosmic tier, including the living tribunal, death, Uatu, Eon, and infinity. Now moving on, Thor says 8 years, 7 months, and 6 days since he and Jane broke up. Now Thor Ragnarok made it sound like he and Jane's breakup was recent, so 8 years, 7 months after that would track with this movie keeping up with the MCU present day of 2025. But Jane thinking 3 to 4 years is not her losing track or not caring about Thor, because remember, Jane was blipped. Her face showed up on their screens, and the official screenplay confirmed that Jane Foster was one of the blip victims. Now, then again, that screenplay also confirmed Wong dusted as well, despite Spider-Man No Way Home ignoring that, making Wong Sorcerer Supreme while Strange was blipped, but that would hardly be the first MCU plot hole ever. So, if Jane blipped, for her, it would only feel like 3 or 4 years instead of 8.5. Then Chris Hemsworth makes, I think, my favorite vocalization he has ever made. And Valkyrie being here confirms that she's among Thor and Korg and the Guardians when they are on Chitauri 4. I just love all these shots of Valkyrie's armor, that bold black and silver color with this Norse logo.
Valkyrie
the
looks
bold
awesome,
black and silver makes her visually at least a perfect fit for what I think will be the final battle of this movie, a desaturated one with Gore. And we meet him in the next section, so let's move on.
The only ones who gods care about is themselves.
For a right there, Christian Bale. I swear, man, he looks. For real, he looks like Marilyn Manson, dude. Like.
So this is my vow.
He does. He looks like Marilyn Manson right there, man.
So we hear
That's
Christian
scary,
Bale as Gore the God Butcher. This interesting shot, though, of a piece of rock floating toward a rift in space, toward a lonely planet on the other side, maybe Earth, maybe someplace else. On that rock surface is a kind of cage structure. It actually looks like the red cape of Thor inside of it. This might be how Gore navigates from place to place. Then the hilt of All Black the Necker sword, or whatever they're gonna call this sword in this movie, lifts into Gore's hand, and then Gore reveals himself, pushing out of a snaking tangle of inky vines and lowering his hood to show his scarred face, white robes stained with blood from his mouth and his open wounds. It seems like we only ever see Gore in black and white, except for his eyes. They especially boosted the contrast in this shot, giving it a noirish quality like we saw in Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez's Sin City. This upped contrast just really sharpens all the scars and the lines of his face, giving him a withered look, making him look both very strong but also dead inside. Like the most jacked corpse you've ever seen. A man who has lost everything, has nothing to lose, vengeance incarnate. Now Gore in the comics has an interesting headpiece and has no nose, but I personally am thankful they let Christian Bale keep his nose, because I don't care if Voldemort's supposed to have a snake nose in the books. I know he does. It's just Ralph Fiennes looks stupid in those movies. They tried to make it work, it did not work, and it would have been better if they just let Ralph Fiennes keep his damn nose. Christian Bale has a cool, scary, angular face, and they are smart not to cover it up. Now the vines that Gore pushes through may actually be a form of his sword. That black and white world could actually be a pocket realm that is created by All Black. Now of course, one of Gore's victims is Thalagar the Behemoth, a frame taken directly by Esad Ribik's amazing artwork and Jason Aaron's storyline. And can we use this opportunity to beg Marvel Studios to stop just giving these comics writers and artists a special thanks in the credits of the movie? Pay them as much as you're paying the directors, especially if you're lifting the frame and putting directly in the marketing of the movie, which is directly going to lead to advanced pre-sales blowing up for this movie. Make it right, pay your artists. On to the next clip.
I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
This is my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
So Thor pops Stormbreaker into the goat boat, which is what I'm gonna call it now, and that boat leaves a rainbow wake as Stormbreaker has the power of Bifrost, the rainbow bridge. Jane and Valkyrie help Thor fight off some Olympian guards, and here, and actually you can see even more clearly in that butt shot, you can see Thor has some back tattoos. It looks like he inked Loki's helmet and a square shape that I think might be Mjolnir. He might have inked everything he has lost onto his back. So that might also include Odin, his mother Frigga, Jane, Tony Stark, Black Widow, all the things he has lost. So why are they fighting in Olympus here? I'm wondering if maybe when Thor showed up at Falagard's crime scene, Thor could have been falsely accused for killing these gods, as Olympus may think only Thor has the might to take down so many of them. Then an epic shot of Gorr plunging his sword, clutching the blade into a planet or moon, destroying it. This would explain how he's able to kill Falagard. I am wondering if Gorr is doing this to try to kill a celestial that might be gestating inside. Do it while you can, Gorr. It's about to become illegal in 26 states. Thor tells Jane, you never forget your first, talking about her first bad guy, but his sly implication there is that they were both each other's first true loves, or at least she was his, and he will never forget her. On to the next clip.
You are not like the other gods of kill. You have something worth fighting for.
Freedom!
So Thor and Valkyrie fight
Freedom,
Gorr on this
Patrick
broken
Bateman.
surface that he shattered before. The photography just looks incredible. It looks as though Thor and Valkyrie are in the process of being desaturated during this fight. Like Gorr could be draining the color and the life force from the whole world. You can see this especially as Valkyrie parries Gorr using one of Zeus's lightning bolts. Like the rest of her body is desaturated, but the color seems to be coming from that bolt. The same is happening with Thor amidst a blast from Stormbreaker. Other than the bolts, the rest of the shot has the color draining from it. So why is Valkyrie using Zeus's bolt? Maybe Zeus has been killed and the ranking power of Olympus has temporarily passed down to her during this crisis. It just seems like as this final battle wages on, all of the color is going to be drained until we are in complete black and white. A stylistic choice that we previously have only seen in the MCU in things like WandaVision and the first Captain America film in order to invoke a deliberately nostalgic quality. But here it looks like the color changing is a direct consequence of factors within the scene. On to the last clip.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick.
On that booty.
Oh,
Flick too hard, damn it!
Should we help him? Eventually. Great.
He got
So Russell Crowe as Zeus sounds like he's committing to a Greek accent. Good for you, Russell. And I gotta love the word choice of flick, which yeah, is becoming a bit of an MCU inside innuendo because remember Ant-Man and Endgame said, flick me, Captain, as he stuck his butt out because if you spell out flick me in a Comic Sans word bubble in all caps and italics, the L and the I begin to merge together to look like a U. So, you know, the line, you flick too hard, damn it. You get the idea. And I assume Thor will not be blurred out when we see this in theaters. I love how everyone on this day is faints, aside from Zeus, but including the guys and that bearded harpist. Meanwhile, Jane, Valkyrie, and Korg wear hooded cloaks while they sit in the stands. I presume they're currently disguised. Not that great of disguises, but in the officials photo that revealed Bastet, they were not wearing those cloaks. Seated behind them here is a god with larger feet, suggesting that many of the gods seated around them may have immense forms 10 feet tall, the way Taweret and Ammit were in Moon Knight. Now, we can't really see Bastet too well here. Maybe we'll see her better in the IMAX aspect ratio version of this trailer, but you can see from her feline ears, she is turning her head a bit, taking it in. Now, Bastet and Bast are both names referring to the Egyptian cat goddess, but also Bast is the Wakandan panther deity. This movie may suggest the mythologies of Black Panther and Moon Knight and Thor are all linked, part of the same mythological system, as Moon Knight started to do by confirming the ancestral plane is just one of many MCU afterlives along with the Duat and Moon Knight. Maybe Bast and Bastet are the same entity. Maybe Black Panther is considered an avatar of Bast, and since Bashenga consumed that heart-shaped herb and met Bast in 10,000 BC, really Wakanda mythology was the first mythology on the planet Earth in the MCU, implying that may have influenced all the rest. That is everything I found in this trailer, and we are partnering with Shortbox to give away a rated copy of What If number 10 from 1978, the first appearance of Jane Foster as Thor.
like, I don't know, dude. That whole thing about like, oh, these guys electing Jane to, you know, wield Mjolnir, kind of seems a little bit reaching, Eric. I don't know. Maybe you could be right. I don't know. I don't know, man. We're just gonna have to wait and see till the movie comes out. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Well, that's it. And that's my reaction to Thor: Love and Thunder trailer breakdown, Easter eggs, and details you might have missed by New Rockstars. And well, I'm excited for the movie either way. Like, we're just gonna have to wait and see how and why Jane has Mjolnir and why she's able to wield it. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. And